What's up, y'all? This is Alex from The Rim Review. The Rim Review is a page that offers in-depth player analysis and gives nuance to the way you watch basketball. In this series, we're going to be covering every single prospect in the upcoming NBA draft. Some of which you may already know, however, there are going to be numerous hidden gems we explore in the coming weeks. In today's episode, we're going to look at the young big from G League Ignite, Izan Almansa. When looking at Almansa's game offensively, a couple of strengths stand out. The first of which is the fact that I would consider him to be somewhat of a lob threat. While he is a little undersized, I think that he's shown flashes of being able to roll and be someone you could throw lobs to, and Almansa has a really good catch radius. While I don't think he's the best athlete necessarily, I think he's a good athlete, but not an amazing one, not kind of like a Derek Lively jump out the gym rim runner guy that you see. I do think that his catch radius makes him really impressive, and he definitely has good hands, and because of that, he's a decent lob threat. Secondly, he's a very solid finesse big in the post. He's not going to overwhelm you with his physicality, he's not going to back you down, but he does a really decent job having touch shots, maybe 7 or 8 foot fadeaways away from the basket. While those are relatively inefficient shots, he is pretty good at them, and that's how he's scored a lot in the G League. He's definitely going to score through finesse rather than physicality, but still, it's one of his strengths. There are still a lot of weaknesses to Almansa's game offensively. The first of which is extremely poor physicality. Almansa will oftentimes get out-muscled, pushed out of his spot, and it just takes him out of plays. This is a big reason why he fades away when he takes his shots, and it makes his shots much more difficult. His lack of physicality also makes him not the best of screeners, and he results much more on touch screens rather than physical bruising screens. Secondly, he's a complete non-shooter and only shot 19% from beyond the arc last season. When looking at this, it's not as big as an issue if he ends up playing the 5, but at 6'9", he played the 4 a lot with G League Ignite, which means that a lot of people might think he would play the 4 in the NBA, and you definitely don't want to have a 4 who can't shoot, and that's a big concern. Next, he's a very awkward finisher. There's stretches where he tries to put the ball on the floor and have kind of like a Euro step or just any kind of basket when he is off movement. It just doesn't look great, and his touch is not good, especially with his left hand. His left-handed touch is honestly just non-existent. Finally, I would say he has a very inconsistent handle, especially for a 4. He sometimes will struggle to handle the ball. He could maybe be in a driving line situation and dribble right into the gaps, and he just doesn't do his best job getting by people. He is actually a pretty solid passer, I would say, but his inconsistent handle really makes him not a great playmaker. Now, let's get into the film and watch Almansa play. On this possession, what I love to see from Almansa is a very aggressive rim run. Right here, he does a really nice job, and what I love seeing is how he changes pace to accelerate right here. While he can't finish the dunk, and it leads to a miss, I loved how hard he ran up the court. On this possession, Almansa is once again going to run up the court with decent pace. He catches the ball, but as you see, he's not confident, is very concerned with this man coming over to help, and it leads to a turnover. I'd love to either see him score over this man or just take a jump stop and play off of 2, let him take himself out of the play, and then you have an easy layup. You really should not be looking to pass there. On this clip, Almansa is going to set a screen and then immediately twist it and allow himself to have a late roll into a touch shot. What I love seeing here is when he sets the first screen, the defender goes under right here. Now this is a little bit of a moving screen from Almansa, but he does a nice job twisting it and remaining low, allowing his teammate to come downhill and hit him for a touch shot. Right here on this play, he's going to twist once again. I do think he has a pretty good instincts of knowing when to twist. He twists here, gets a pocket pass, but once again, the touch is not there. I think his finishing at the rim just needs a lot of work. Right here, he gets a pocket and knocks down this shot. This area right here, this circle, is where he lives. He doesn't necessarily love the at the rim 2s because it requires him scoring over defense, but that shot is money for him. Right here, Almansa's once again going to be involved in another screening action. He's going to set a screen for Norris Cole right here, catch a pocket pass, and do what he does best, which is that shot right there. On this play, he's going to be involved in a dribble handoff situation. He comes right here, rolls, and catches a pocket for an inside hand finish. I love how he's got good hands to catch a lower pass and knocks it down. On this clip, he's going to have another dribble handoff situation, get out, and have a lob. What I really like seeing here is it's a very quick dribble handoff, and because this is a zoom action right here, he sees that this defender has already been clipped, and by the time the ball has been given to his teammate, there's this much separation between him. So there's no real need for Almansa to wait to set the screen, because you're setting a screen on somebody who's already out of the play. Colin Castleton on the South Bay Lakers already has to come up and provide help, or at least remain in a drop to make sure his teammate can't get downhill. So Almansa just goes without even setting the screen, which is a really intelligent play. And because of this, he's able to get a lob. You just love seeing when smart basketball is rewarded. Right here, it's another screen, and he rolls and gets a dunk. Almansa here does not make contact, and part of the reason behind that is because once he sees that this man is already playing behind, the screen has done its job, and so he gets out early. I think here he probably still could set a screen to get a little bit more separation, but it's a nice job rolling and dunking. On this clip, it's another pocket play, but it leads to a miss. Almansa is very clearly bothered by this defender right here in the gaps. I think Almansa probably should just kick it before he brings it low, and then that's a 3. But instead, he forces a shot that's half a step within the three-point line that's contested. A wide open catch and shoot 3 right here would be a much better read, and Almansa misses this. Right here, it's going to be another pocket play for Almansa. He sets a screen here, catches the pocket, and just can't make it. I don't think that there's anything uniquely bad about him smoking a layup, but when it happens as many times as you see here, it's bad. On this horn set, he catches the ball in another pocket and just can't let it fall. Once again, I'd like to see Almansa just be a little bit more confident and initiate contact to score. On this play, Almansa is going to be involved in a short roll action. Right here, the defense on the Windy City Bulls is putting 2 on the ball with these 2 guys right here. Because of that, this guy has to come in to catch Almansa. Once he catches Almansa, this guy's cutting right here, and Almansa should make a quick pass to hit him, or if this guy fully commits to the ball right here, it should be a pump fake in this direction and then a kick out to the wing. Almansa really should make this pass right here. He doesn't, and he for some reason decides to do a bounce pass. This should be a quick over the head bullet pass, and the bounce pass is bad, and he's clearly bothered. Right here, it's another short roll opportunity for Almansa. The Ontario Clippers are going to put 2 on the ball. Almansa catches it. If he wants, he could potentially kick, but he tries to score. And if you're going to score, which I don't mind because there's a mismatch, just make sure you play off of 2 and initiate contact. You have like a foot on this guy. Either hit the wide open man for 3 or get an easy layup, not a fadeaway. On this possession, Almansa is once again involved in a screening action. However, here, he has a pick and pop where he kind of just sets this brush screen right here. He stays, has a nice 3, but it just can't fall. His lack of shooting is really concerning because it allows teams to really just commit 2 to the ball right here with a really deep drop. And as you can tell, they're not at all concerned with him popping, and it leads to a miss. On this option, Almansa is going to be in a dribble handoff situation. Right here, they're going to run a flex action, which is a really common NBA action, where they're actually going to have Almansa come off of the screen right here, and then Almansa does a really nice job faking the dribble handoff, getting downhill, and having a really nice dunk. One of the best plays I've seen from him in watching all of his clips. Right here, it's the exact same flex action. Almansa's coming off the screen, keeps it, and then has a finesse score. I don't like this one as much because look how he's shying away from contact so much. He very clearly needs to put on more muscle and get more confident with dealing with NBA level physicality. Right here, Almansa gets the ball, keeps it, but he does the exact same thing where he fades away from the basket. He doesn't play off of 2 feet, which is bad. If he played off of 2 feet here, you could jump stop. Maybe this guy comes flying by, but instead, it's a soft finish and he misses. Now let's move on to Almansa in the post where he loves to operate. Right here, he's going to set this screen, get a switch, and then he does a really nice job sealing in the post and has great hands to catch this basketball right here and get an easy dunk. On this possession, it's another post up where Almansa's looking to seal, doesn't get anything initially, and then he comes right back into a post up and then has a left-handed touch shot over the right shoulder. On this next play, it's going to be another post opportunity for Almansa. He sets a screen, and once he gets that switch, he's going right into the post. This time, he's going to go over the left shoulder, and he shoots it with his right hand for another touch shot. He's much better going over the left shoulder and shooting with his right hand than he is going over the right shoulder and shooting with his left hand. Right here, he does a nice job spinning the other way. So initially you may think that he's going to go have a left-handed touch, but then he drop steps and goes the other way. On this possession, he does a really nice job having multiple moves in order to score. He's hunting the post here, which is awesome. He gets the ball in the post, pump fake, step through, bucket. Really good stuff. These types of post finesse moves are what are really how he scored in the G League, and I think how he hopes to score in the NBA. Right here, it's a drop step, and he finishes through contact, which is really exciting to see. On this clip, he's going to get downhill, then have to come back up for a ball screen, and then as I mentioned time and time again, once he gets that switch, he's going right into the post, drop step, touch shot. Unfortunately for him, when he does have to deal with physicality, things don't end up great. And you saw right there, a physical defender guarding with his chest, and we get an awkward shot. On this next clip, it's going to be another situation where honestly, the physicality was concerning. He rips through here, and then you see he's clearly bothered by this bump that occurs on like the initial bump right here. Boom, now he's picked up the ball and he's back to the basket, pretty far away from the basket. Tries to step through, but he's cooked. Those are the types of things that are really concerning and he needs to work on. Lucas. Right here, he's gonna once again call for the ball, back his man down. He fades away from the basket and can't make it. It's this shying away from physicality that's really concerning with Almansa's game. In this situation, he's going to go with another post up, have a nice drop step, but his spin is late. I'd like to see him go here if he just took his drop step like immediately. He takes it a little late, but he does draw a foul. On this last clip, we're just going to watch Almansa get a nice offensive rebound putback. And what's good to see here is him just using his length and size and scoring amongst a smaller guard. Now that we've looked at Almansa's offense, let's explore his defensive game. There are a few defensive strengths that stand out for Almansa, and the first of which is the fact that he's really solid in drop coverage. Almansa has decent length and does a good job recognizing when passes are being thrown in drop and impacting the passing lanes. While he's not as tall as most centers, I think that his awareness in drop coverage makes up for it. Secondly, he's shown flashes of being able to switch or have other coverages such as a soft hedge. This is good because it showcases that he's comfortable with a variety of different things. I will say he's not the best at switching, and if he ends up playing the 4 in the NBA, most teams will switch 1 through 4, so it actually could be something that is a weakness, but for now, if you're operating under the assumption that he's a 5, it is a strength. Finally, he has pretty active hands, which is really good. Part of this is how he's active in drop coverage, some of this is in the gaps, and some of it's just everything in between, and his active hands have allowed him to have 38 steals in the previous season, which is pretty solid for a big man. There are still some pretty big defensive weaknesses to Almansa's game. The first of which is the fact that he would be somewhat undersized if he ends up playing the 5. At 6'9", he just doesn't have that length and definitely does not have the strength that's needed to really succeed at the 5. If you're looking at a shorter center in this class like a Bona is much better at using his size that he does have, playing off of 2, being physical defensively, and using that size in general, and Almansa isn't there yet. And I think Almansa is a little bit taller, but I still would like to see him be more physical defensively to be at that 5 spot. And his second weakness is what I just said, his defensive physicality. I think that when you have his height, you definitely need to be more physical, which he is not. Finally, he definitely has a low point of contact a lot of the times in driving line situations. What I mean by this is if he switches onto a guard, he might be playing a couple steps inside the 3-point line while the guard is outside beyond the arc. What makes this really difficult is the guard can A, shoot over him, but B, when they go downhill, Almansa isn't going to be able to impact the drive because he's not close enough and he's much more of a reactionary defender. This is bad because it allows guards to stop on a dime and get shots over him and make multiple moves to blow by. Now, let's get into the film and watch Almansa play defensively. On this action, Almansa is going to be in drop coverage right here. As you see, he's in drop coverage because instead of playing at the level, which would be here, or putting 2 on the ball, which would be either this or just a straight double, Almansa is playing below. Now initially, Almansa doesn't do the best job in drop because his man's able to slip and get a half step behind him. Almansa recognizes this, backpedals, and gets his hand up for a steal. Let's watch this again. Good recovery, active hands, and it leads to a miss. On this situation, Almansa's in a drop, however it turns into a veer, which is when he switches onto the ball. Almansa does a nice job staying in front of his man here, doesn't fall for the pump fake, and it leads to a miss. On this situation, it's just a straight up switch. Right here, he's guarding Jarrett Culver, former NBA player. He has active hands, absorbs the contact, and it leads to a missed shot. On this possession, it's another switch where Almansa picks up a guard. He stays in front of the guard here, forces the guard to kick, and then comes over for a nice block. Great effort from Izan. On this clip, Almansa is going to be involved in another switch, however, here he gets blown by against Josh Primo. Here's what's bad about this. As I mentioned earlier, Primo is able to kind of load up without Almansa being on him. Almansa's backpedaling, deals with a little bit of a push from Primo, and it gets an easy basket. On this situation, Almansa is once again going to be involved in a switch. Right here, Almansa switches onto the ball, has a lowish point of contact, and gets beat for a mid-range. On this clip, it's a much more egregious low point of contact play from Izan. Right here, Almansa is going to guard this step-up ball screen, and then he keeps backpedaling and gives up a 3. When you look at where this 3 was shot, there's a lot of separation here. He's got 1 foot in the paint, and Almansa's really nowhere near the ball, and it gives up a 3. Right here, in another type of coverage, Almansa is going to have active hands, and it leads to a steal. On this clip, it's going to be another pick and roll opportunity. Almansa is going to be in a soft hedge, which is when he's basically at the level. It's kind of in between a soft hedge and a drop, but he has active hands again and gets a steal. Now, let's watch a little bit more of him in a driving line situation without a pick and roll fully being involved. Almansa is going to get the ball right here. He stays in front of his man, absorbs the bump, and plays defense with his chest. On this clip, it's going to be another driving line opportunity for Almansa. Right here, his man fakes like he's going to have a DHO right here. Keeps the ball, but Almansa uses his length to get a block. On this clip, it's more the same. Almansa switches onto a guard. The guard is going to reload. For those of you who don't know, that's basically when the guard passes and then gets it back so they can have their pivot foot back. But Almansa stays in front of him and causes a miss. Unfortunately for Almansa, he still struggles with physicality, and it leads to things like this occurring. Right here, Josh Primo is able to push him a little bit, and Josh Primo is a tiny guy. He pushes him, and it forces a little bit of a slide, giving up a basket. On this clip, it's more the same, where Almansa simply is out-muscled. Right here, he just gets bodied, isn't being physical, and just doesn't look great. Going into the season, Izan Almansa was extremely hyped up and viewed as one of the G League players who could potentially be a first-round pick. However, after watching the film and after looking at his numbers this season, it's fair to say that his year would be considered disappointing by many. Because of this, he has fallen significantly on draft boards, and many scouts have him going in the second round and maybe not getting drafted at all. When looking at what his career could end up being like, I think there are a couple of things to consider. The first of which is he has to become more physical. He's only going to be 18 when he's drafted, so there's plenty of time to put on more muscle and get used to the NBA game. If he does that, I think Almansa could be a nice finesse change of pace big who could have a 5 to 6 year career as a solid backup, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. However, I would say that that is his ceiling. I think his more realistic outcome is that a team gives him a couple of years, maybe like two-way contracts to try to put it together, but I honestly see that the weaknesses within his game may be too much for him to overcome. I think that Almansa has to work on his strength firstly, but I also think he has to work on setting better screens. I think he needs to work on maybe being able to space the floor more to protect the basketball. There's so many things that he needs to work on that are not just physicality that concern me, and that's why I think he may be washed out of the NBA after only a year or two. I think that that's probably his more realistic outcome. Maybe he gets a third, 1 year deal, not on a two-way. What I would say his floor would be, he might not get drafted at all, and I could see him just being someone who plays overseas for his majority, if not all of his career. And at that point, he wouldn't make the NBA. I would be surprised if that happened because I do think that a team will take a shot on it with him and give him a two-way, but if he has a bad summer league or a bad training camp, he might not make a roster altogether. Overall, I think I would draft Almansa probably in the late 50s, and more likely than not, I have him probably going undrafted on my big board. Overall, that's my take, and we'll be back at it again with another episode of The Rim Review.